The last couple of patches of the Bazaar have changed a lot in the game, and it feels like we are getting very close to the vision for what the Bazaar will be when it enters open beta, hopefully fairly soon. So let's look at some of these recent changes and see what is hidden under the surface. Alright, welcome back everybody to another episode of Under the Surface. It's been a hot minute since we've done a patch review sort of episode, and we thought we would not just do a normal patch review, but talk about kind of the direction the game's been headed over the last couple of patches. I think generally, for me at least, I think things have gotten more stable and they're more in like a better place, and I feel like we're kind of really seeing what the game is going to be rather than getting like an entirely new meta that feels like almost a different game every time. The last time that sort of happened was with the infinite meta. How do you feel about it?
I mean, this might be a unpopular opinion, but I was having a pretty decent time when the charge meta was like here, essentially. Like, I understand that the power level just skyrocketed through the roof, and like for most people it was unmanageable, and to be fair, for me it was sort of unmanageable to some degree. But at the same time, like, we all are playing this game to make the most wacky combos, to find the craziest synergies, and, you know, to put together the most effective engines, whatever that might, produce, either damage, shielding, poison, whatever you like. And, you know, at that point, you were able to do some crazy stuff in the game. So, I mean, yeah, I had some fun with that, but I'm glad that we sort of moved away from, well, charge meta, from infinite meta. And since then, the game has been sort of tempered, and I think the main reason for that was introducing new level up rewards. I'm not sure if you would agree.
Yeah, probably. It's kind of hard for me to think back. So I guess the meta or the patch after the charge meta is when they introduced is that when they introduced the new level up rewards?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I was skeptical when they announced that or talked about it, but I mean, it's 1,000 times better. It's not even close. It's not even close. And with the same thing with the charge meta, I liked it too, but towards the end of it, it started wearing on me a little bit. The game feels more, I don't know, just generally balanced and everything. Also, I don't know, was it charge meta or was it the meta after where they made it so the enchantments were level 10 instead of 15? Because that was a big change too that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think it was January 22nd. I think it was.
Okay, so it was the one after.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Right. It makes sense because first they introduced new level up system, which sort of allowed for some baseline for how the game is supposed to play out. There was a groundwork laid out, right? And then we all, I think, as a community, realized that yes, this is finally what we were waiting for. Like, this was the one like lever that was needed to be pulled for the whole thing to came together. Like, it gave structure to the game. You were finally able to plan ahead. Finally, you were able to sort of anticipate how you should approach certain actions. If I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but I think you get my drift. And yeah, so introducing new level ups was one giant step ahead, and then sort of tweaking that to allow more like level playing field. Like, to be fair, like, this game is still highly about high rolling, like, we cannot deny that, but at the same time the floor and ceiling have been sort of squished like closer together. And I mean, the most recent patch introduced like this random enchantment versus artist instead of 3 random enchantments. So this also impacted how you approach the game.
How do you feel about that change? That's what I was about to ask.
I mean, essentially, artist is a random enchantment as well, you know? So instead of like having 3 options, you essentially have 2. But like how like you can consider artist as a sort of a reroll for that enchantment. So you roll your first one, let's say you rolled a shielded enchantment and you don't really need it, so you can go to the artist and essentially reroll that enchantment, right? So yeah, I mean, it's probably comparable in the like if we consider power level of that particular level up reward, but like the variance is definitely a bit higher.
Yeah, I think just generally it's more fun. I find myself going to the artist a lot. And I know it's kind of hard for me to put into words, but like before with the three random ones, sometimes it felt like none of them felt right and you were just kind of like
Yeah.
picking the worst of two evils or three evils or whatever. And so the new one, you can kind of pick an item and know it's going to get an enchantment that works for it, even if it's not what you want. Because some items can even be enchanted with certain things. And I know you also have the whole aspect of like some items only have like 2 enchantments.
Yeah.
So it
So
kind of makes those a little OP.
yeah, they prefer to go to the artist in that regard. But also, like when we are covering this topic of enchantments, like new enchantments, like new effects for the enchantments can also be sort of tagged onto it as like scaling your, let's say, damage or shielding or whatever can actually affect your enchantments. So let's say poison, fiery, or shielded, or restorative. All those things usually care about 10% of the main stat of your item, right? And previously it was just a flat amount. So now, like, I had a run where I was running succulents for the first time ever. Like, you know what? I decided to run succulents because I never done that, and why won't I, right? And I found a poison enchantment and I put it on succulents. And now succulents were healing me for like 400 and dealing 40 poison every 4 seconds. So, and it kept stacking. So I feel like that's a fun change. And without the artist and, you know, all those changes, I think we wouldn't arrive at that.
Yeah. Enchantments fit the vibe of the items now, because before it was just like I don't know, like half the items you had on your board felt like it was totally irrelevant to put an enchantment on them, or like if you put an enchantment on it, it was just like, oh, okay, like I have nowhere else to put this, so I'm just going to throw it on my silk or whatever. But
Yeah.
now you scale that item and you can scale the enchantment and it feels like you're doing something. So yeah,
Yes.
I love the change.
It must, like, some enchantments were sort of duds on some boards and you didn't feel at all stronger when you hit them, and now it's much more likely that the enchantment is going to actually help you out to some degree. Of course, there are still some situations where you would prefer some enchantment over the other, but still, like, it's much rarer to feel like you've been sort of scammed by, you know, getting an enchantment and it's not doing anything.
Yeah, when we did the enchantment episode way back in the day, we talked about how like half the enchantments were basically just scams and you always want to put it on the lowest cooldown item.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's probably just because Tempo didn't have time to make, you know, like 10 other cards on top of every card and make it scale properly and everything. They were just trying to get the enchantments out there. But yeah, it's way better
Though,
now.
to be fair, we have to admit that they did add a couple of new items. Like, do you have some honorable mention that you would like to, you know, bring to the forefront right now?
The new items like they just added?
Yeah, I mean, let's say a boomerang was added, and I suppose people enjoy that as some sort of semi-economic item.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to my mind. I love playing with that item. I don't know. It's an interesting idea because it's not a very good weapon, but when you use it against like PvE enemies, then you can get an extra monster loot, which is, you know, pretty big, honestly. Like I've had a couple pig runs where I go to the lower tier enemy with the boomerang just to try to get like a good monster loot. So
Wait, does it give you like a completely random monster loot, or is it sort of tied to the monster event or monster fight that you're actually doing at the moment?
no, it seems completely random from what I've seen, at least.
Okay, so
But you know, it's like you can get extra XP or extra crit or really anything, so it can be pretty interesting. And I assume it's based off of the level of the boomerang and not like the tier of the item is the tier of the boomerang, like with other things.
Yeah,
too.
most likely that's how all the other like spawning items work. And when we are talking about spawning items, like, I'm not sure if like it's a sleeper item or I'm simply like not read it thoroughly enough, but schematics are top notch right now for me. Like if you can get it to like gold or diamond, or you simply like go to Lux and he sells you diamond schematics, like if you can afford it, buy it immediately. You can find so many cool items from that. And well, like this sort of segues us into the new tags topic, right? But like a lot of good items are tech now. And if you can pull them through schematics, which doesn't really restrict the size of the item, so you can easily get a large, let's say, diamond item from diamond schematics. Like this is insane in terms of printing money. Like this, in my opinion, is the best economic item right now, like across all heroes. So, don't sleep on the power of schematics.
Yeah, and it's not even like the tech tag is like not even garbage on Dually. Like it's actually pretty decent because you have like railgun is tech. I'm pretty sure it charges whenever you have tech. So yeah, I don't know. I've picked up schematics a few times after you told me about it because I didn't realize they reworked that item. It used to do something else, didn't it?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was sort of like microchip, like it acquired damage and then you could sell it to improve your core, something like that. I don't remember. Like I've never bought it before, but right now in this version, like as I said, like it's insane. Like you can get a silencer from it, you can get crypto, which crypto doesn't really seem like a really good item, but like that's free gold still with an upside, and then there are other items that could sort of fit your build. And if you can get schematics as other heroes, not necessarily Dually, I think you can get even more crazy with that.
Yeah, and this is reminding me of another item I want to mention that also got reworked this patch because of the tag changes, which is what is it? Model ship, Pygmalion's. Is it called model ship?
Yeah, it gives the toys multicast, right? Adjacent toys.
Yeah, and I haven't really gotten a chance to use it yet, but I've seen it, and I've really been wanting to make it work because I don't know. I like the toy tag. I like the idea of, and it kind of feels like tags have become stronger, but there's less items in each tag pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it has to be because like items didn't spawn like autumn mushrooms or something. Like literally you had to sort of divide what was there to put into new sort of bags, new drawers, let's call it. And yeah, I guess if I were to say one thing that I don't really like about new tags, and this is something that I'm not saying that new tags should be removed because I love them in that sense, but like there's not really much support for them right now. As in, like toys, like yeah, there's model ship which helps other toys, but there's no toy merchant. There's no like event that gives you a random toy, and the same goes with tech. So like the merchant, I don't remember what he's called, but like that sells tools. Like essentially his pool got shrunk, but all the good items were changed from tool to tech. So there's not much reason to go there. And then like in terms of port, you have option to get 2 gold and a tool item. And again, like most useful tools were renamed as tech. So like there's less opportunities to get those specific things. And also we have apparel, right? So from what I have heard, apparel apparently is meant to be sort of buffed when you have some other piece of apparel on your board, but it's not implemented yet. And I'm not even sure if there are any like items that care about other things being apparel. Well, besides Beast of Burden, who like Beast of Burden got removed from the game, right?
Yeah. So there is one item that cares about apparel. I have no clue how to say it. It's a Pygmalion item, a Propos chapeau. It's like a weird hat.
A Propos chapeau, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it mentions like it gets an extra multicast for like 5 different types, and one of them's apparel. But yeah, there's nothing super specific, but so you're saying that it's like the more clothes you put on, the more they get buffed. Basically, is kind of the idea behind that tag.
I suppose.
It's like fashion souls.
I mean, yeah, I like that idea. I mean, as I said, I like the fact that they increase the number of tags and there's more interactions between them. Like, for example, we have dragon tag now. Like, there's 3 items that are dragon, but like, it's definitely a flex to run a dragon. And also, dinosaurs are, tagged now. So maybe in the future we can expect an item that buffs dragons and dinosaurs because that's sort of a monster tag.
Yeah, I think you kind of said this, but like it's a little glimpse sort of into the future of what these tags will be, because mostly they're just there right now. But you can imagine a year from now a dinosaur merchant who's like really rare and sells dinosaurs from like
my.
every different hero or something.
Like a Jurassic Park event, something like that.
Yeah.
That would be nice. That I wish we could like move into the future and experience the game in a year's time right now, like with all new merchants, with all new monster fights, with all new events, with all new items. That there's a lot to wait for. There's a lot to expect and be hyped about.
Yeah, and we or I've said this at least a lot, that every time like this game gets patched, it just gets that much better. And I don't know, like I don't think it's going to stop. It just keeps expanding. And Reynad's mentioned in the past that this game is good now, and then in 2 years when there's way more content, it's going to be like amazing.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's kind of what we're waiting for. It's just where we're at.
That's exactly what I was saying. Like, we have like the baseline, like new tags and new ideas, but we need content to supplement that. Like, we need those events, like get a random toy, get a random apparel, get a random tech item, or like maybe even we could branch out in terms of like upgrading items, because we have like B1 and B2 for Dooley. I don't think you can get them as any other hero. And also we have Forger, but also maybe we could get some more specific events, like a seamstress who improves your apparel, or maybe a robot sort of factory, whatever, that improves your tech. In essence, like, new tags are, at least in my opinion, a good way forward. I would definitely do all those things that they did. Right now they need to start working the machine and introduce new events into the game, because I think that's what we are lacking.
Yeah. And there's, I guess the other problem is all the item pools. Kind of like you said, like the tools item pool is suddenly super small now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the tech or the toy item pools are huge, but as they add new heroes, that won't be the case. Maybe you can have like a merchant that goes between heroes, or maybe we're gonna have card packs too, which is something I'm dying to get more information on. That'll probably introduce a lot of themed things for each card pack as well. Like, I'm sure there'll be like a toy pack and stuff like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, let's not like overdo ourselves on this one topic. I would like to ask you about some smaller things that they've added or changed, and how do you feel about them? So first of all, new victory/defeat banner. Do you prefer it, or did you like the old, like, more clean style, less stylized?
So yeah, I see a lot of discussion about this, and this is obviously the most important thing to bring up here. But yeah, I have mixed feelings on it. Like, the old one is just kind of nothing. You know what I mean? It's just says victory or defeat. I kind of like the idea of this one, but I feel like it needs to be polished up more or something. I don't know what it is. It's something that I don't love about it, but I think it looks nice, generally speaking.
The animation is really pretty. Like, the animation itself, like when this ribbon sort of unrolls, there's like sparkling dust going off of it. So yeah, I like that. I feel like they worked hard to make it pretty. So I can appreciate that, but I also feel like there's something lacking. There's no, I'm not even sure how to put it into words, but like, there's no oomph,
Yeah.
And the old one was simple, I agree, but at the same time, it was this. I'm not sure how to explain this, but like, I felt like it was like sufficient summary for the fight, essentially. And I don't know, maybe the fact that the size of those two animations is so drastically different that I'm more like, I don't know, maybe not necessarily critical, but like it imposes itself on me a bit more, the new one. I'm not sure if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's kind of like jarring,
But
especially when I first played it and I saw that on the new patch. I was like, what the heck? Like, I thought the old one was fine, but I think that shows how dedicated Tempo is to making this game like above and beyond. Because any other game would have just said our old one was good enough and never
yeah,
looked at it again for 50 years.
yeah. I mean, Reynolds said that there's a lot of, and that was years and years ago when he said that, but like he said that there's a lot of things that we do not know about in regards to what he wants to improve, and some things are obvious, like missing art, but like there were placeholder animations which we considered like good enough, and we sort of rolled with them. And from the perspective of Reynat and Tempo, they were always temporary, always to be discarded. And maybe because we got used to them, we sort of considered them as final product while they weren't. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But still, like, I feel like this new banner, victory banner, needs something else, something like this additional 10% to be really cool. Like, because it's really close to being cool, but something's lacking, and I cannot put my finger on it.
That's from all the comments I've seen, besides people who just say they hate it, but people hate everything.
Yeah.
They seem to say the same thing. Like they like think it looks nice, but something's just off about it a little bit. So I'm sure Tempo's not done with it. They don't seem to be done with anything ever. So I don't know. Like I think we're gonna look at this game in like a year, and not just all the stuff like obvious stuff like you said. Like all the little things are going to be changed too. Because didn't they even say like the new charge animation that we thought was so nice was like also just temporary?
Yeah, Reynard mentioned that in one of his
So
patch talks. I'm not sure, like patch reviews. Yeah, but also, like, one thing that actually made me think that this might not have been the best choice is removal of most of like freeze hate, like freeze this like defense sort of. Like, for example, rapid thaw was completely removed from the game, at least for now. Maybe it's awaiting a rework, but like if you get freezing right now, there's not much to do about it. Like, it will land most likely.
yeah, and they also sort of been reworking. I haven't done a whole lot of freeze this patch so far. Like, I haven't used it a lot, but I know a lot of items have their freeze changed so they don't affect items bigger than them now, which we saw that with a lot of small items. I guess this is a way to balance it. I don't know. Like, it felt okay with rapid thaw. I didn't, I thought they were in a good place there, or generally in a getting to a good place. I don't know. That I feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing with this game, that every patch freeze is going to be different.
Possibly,
Like,
yeah.
it's a hard thing to balance though. So
I mean, I have to admit, at least, that freeze isn't as prevalent as it might have been in the past, or at least in the runs that I've done. As in, I think that we are finally arriving at the place where freeze was sort of expected to be. Like, it's going to affect mostly the start of the fight, and the more you advance, it's going to be like less effective, or like essentially the freeze effects are going to end and you are not going to renew them unless you are actually like building freeze build, because like most of the skills that allowed you to freeze your opponent's board like now are capped at 5 or 10 uses. And the things like the first time you do something, freeze an item. So that's one time use, right? So like this is mostly right now a tempo advantage instead of like your whole identity. And I think that's a good move.
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about it like that, but my whole philosophy on freeze stuff has been this gives me 2 extra seconds to get going,
Hmm?
and it's not like let me put freeze on this thing and then they don't get to play the game. That's how it was a couple patches ago. So
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are still some freeze builds hidden somewhere deep in the item pools of the heroes, but I suppose it's not as easy to assemble them. Like, also, another thing that I guess we might mention is apparently the loot tables for rarity of items has been adjusted. So bronze items are supposed to go away earlier, and higher tier items are supposed to be, available for purchase a bit faster, a bit sooner.
Yeah, I've played a decent bit on this patch down. I haven't really like felt that. I know it's there, but like, yeah, the more I play, I don't know. It's not like something that would be super obvious to me. I don't know how you. I like the change itself, but it's not something I'm really consciously noticing, I guess.
You know what? I feel like it's not something that you are going to notice in the beginning of the run, but like previously, I felt like you could get bronze items really late into the run, like up to like day 7 or maybe even 8. Like, for example, if you were to go to a random item event, like get a random item or get an item of certain type, you would get bronze items fairly frequently. And this sort of what you call it discouraged me from going to those events, right? And right now I feel like the drop rates in those events are more adjusted to where you are in the run as in that particular moment. So you are less likely to get something useless from that. And also I think that merchants offer their offer is upgraded a bit sooner. Like, when you start seeing silver items, you are I think you are at that point, I'm not even sure how to put it, like reassured that from that point onward, you are going to, be able to reliably upgrade your board if you are still sitting on bronze items. And the same goes for gold and diamond. Like, there are definitely some thresholds that you sort of overcome during a run, but it's not like clear cut. It's sort of blurred between the days.
This also moves into the discussion of like kind of the balancing of items between bronze to diamond. They've tried to make them bronze items better, diamond items weaker, I guess is the way to put it. I think it's a little more confusing than that, but they've tried to make them, you're not feeling like you have to upgrade or you're screwed, I guess is the idea behind it. We've covered this topic a lot, I guess, in general, the upgrading problems, but
I mean, if I were to like summarize that really quick, I would say that right now you are not really required, or not necessarily required, but like your power level is not going to be significantly boosted by making your whole board diamond. There are some key pieces that you want to have a diamond, but if a certain item that is good on your board but doesn't really scale that much by itself, you may leave it as like silver or gold, and you aren't going to lose as much, if you were to do the same thing a couple of patches ago. And you may spend the gold that you didn't invest into upgrading an item into like health or skills.
Yeah, it's a good summary. Yeah, so let us know in the comments below how you feel about the current sort of direction of the game. What things are you liking? Maybe what things aren't you liking? How do you feel about the victory/defeat banner? That's what we're really worried about. And
is that a new font issue?
It kind of feels like. I mean, we don't hate it, so I guess not. But
thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a sub, things like that.
Yeah, and we'll see you on Nunhead's channel on Monday.
Yeah, so bye.
See ya.
Oh yes.